first, I think, episode of the Inner Skein Knitting podcast. My name is Maria and I'm coming to you from the northeastern part of Italy. And today we have one pattern release, so the Floret top is now available on Ravelry. I'll talk all about that in a moment. And I also have 3 whips and a little yarn acquisition. I don't typically talk about my yarny acquisitions, but this one literally just got delivered, so I have it beside me on the couch, so might as well talk about it. And yeah, let's get to it. So the Floret top is a summer top. It basically is like a regular tank top like this that you work with an eyelet column on each side of the body, and then once you're done with the top portion, the body, you come and you pick up stitches all along these eyelet columns and then work some shoulder ruffles back and forth like this with a little crochet-like detail that I really like this. And yeah, so the pattern is now available on Ravelry. You can get a 15% discount until the end of this weekend, so until the end of Sunday night. And yeah, I don't know where to start with this one. I guess we can start from the beginning. So back in, I think, March 2024, I submitted 2 design ideas for the Line magazine. And if you've been following along for a while, you'll know that one of those proposals got picked up and it was recently published in the spring issue. So that is my Orma cardigan. And then the second idea that I submitted that didn't get chosen for the magazine was, I'll try to put the schematic or the little drawing that I had done there. And it was for a tank top with like kind of like a, not a drop shoulder, but like you would pick up stitches along the shoulder to create like this shape, but not the ruffle, if that makes sense. And the main feature of that one was a stitch pattern that I was planning to use. I'll get to that. So I was actually planning to use this on the hem and also a little bit here on the cap sleeve type of thing. And it's worked entirely with knitting needles, but it looks a little bit like crochet, like a kind of meshy crochet fabric. And I think last summer I actually started working on this design, and so this morning I went into because I have like a chest of drawers with some yarn and some like unfinished projects that, like, when I'm not super happy with something, I put it there to forget about it. So I went this morning to pick up what I thought was just a yoke with a collar. That's what I remembered making. But I took out this whole garment, like a finished garment. I really don't remember making this, but this was the first version. As you can see, it's very different to what I'm wearing, but it's kind of what I had in mind for the first design idea. So it has like this picked up sleeve where you work it in the round with some short rows, so it's like a cap sleeve, and then you make this little edging like that. And as you can see, both of the shoulders are not the same, so I think I first tried with this and I thought it wasn't long enough, so I restarted and did this. But I think that ultimately the reason I didn't move forward with this, and I mean, you can see I never wove in the ends, I've never worn this. It was in that drawer for over a year probably. The reason is that it's a bit too form-fitting. I haven't tried it on today, but I remember now that it was too form-fitting. There was not enough positive ease, and this yarn, which I don't even remember what it is, but it's a mix of wool and linen, I believe, something like that. It's very scratchy. It's a bit scratchy, especially for something that you're wearing on your skin in hot weather. Like I think that's why I just abandoned it. Yeah, so this was prototype 1 that I completely forgot about for this morning. And then last winter I wanted something, I guess. I wanted to continue working on that idea, but a bit differently. So that's when I started to swatch with the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and this is the cream colorway. And I wanted, again, the same vibe, but that time I guess I decided to go with a shoulder ruffle that you work on the top rather than like coming from the armhole like that. And I'm really pleased with how it's looking. I think this is very versatile for me. I'm wearing it today with some high-waisted jeans, but I've been wearing it also with high-waisted skirts. I think that's how I prefer it actually. But yeah, so I haven't worn this a ton honestly because I wanted to keep the sample fresh for the release in case something happened and I needed to take other pictures or something like that. But yeah, now I'm excited to get tons of wear out of it. Here in Italy where I live, it's usually warm until the end of September, mid-October sometimes. So yeah, I will get a lot of wear out of it in the next few months. And let's see, I have a list of things to talk about, to not forget. I think I've already mentioned the discount code for this. If not, here it is. You can use it until the end of the weekend. And oh, the name. I think I never talked about how I picked the name for this. At the beginning I was quite unsure. I had a few ideas floating around, and finally I decided to name it the Floret top, because at first I thought that I think these ruffles look a lot like iris petals, and yeah, I wanted to name it the iris top, but there's already quite a lot of iris tops or sweaters on Ravelry, so I wanted something different. And iris flowers make me think of Floret Farm, which is, or is it called Floret Flower Farm? No, I have a blank, but it's an account on Instagram that I really enjoy to follow. It's a flower farm, and they always share about many different like varieties of flowers, and yeah, it made me think of that farm, so I decided to name it the Floret top for that reason. It's a bit random, but I think it suits the design well. I like the name. Yeah. So that's it for the name. Now for the construction. I think I've talked about this in prior episodes, but I'll just do a little rundown quickly. So basically you start the top by casting on stitches provisionally for one of the shoulders, and so you work like a piece of the back shoulder, tiny piece, you put that on hold, and then you do the same for the other shoulder, and then eventually you join in the middle. So it kind of like scoops a bit at the back, and then once that is done, then you just work the back panel back and forth and then shape the armholes and put the stitches on hold. And then you come and pick up from your provisional cast on, and I have a video tutorial for that just because I do it a bit differently, I think, than most people. Like most people will like unzip the cast on and put the stitches on the needles. I prefer to like pick up directly from the knitting before unzipping everything. I think it's a bit more secure. That way you can really make sure that you're not like missing a stitch when you unzip. So I have a video for that. You pick up here, and it's kind of the same concept where you work like you would typically for a top-down sweater in this construction, each side separately. Then you cast on stitches here at the front of the neckline, work, show the armholes, and then work in the round. And you could make it more cropped than I have. So my waist is here. So the shoulder ruffles are designed to stop around the waist, and then I made the top a bit longer than that, but you could crop it as long as it doesn't go too, like, as long as it's long enough so that you can work the shoulder ruffles, and that is indicated in the pattern. And you could obviously work it a bit longer too if you want. And then you pick up stitches directly from the fabric, so it's not like a pick up and knit. You really just like use your needle and not the yarn yet to like pick up bars between stitches directly from the fabric. So it's quite easy. It's not, I think it's easier than picking up and knitting. It's just picking up. And then you work, it's quite laborious. I think that's one of the comments that came a lot from the test, is that these shoulder ruffles are not like the easiest thing to do, because they go from one end here all the way to the other side. So there's quite a lot of stitches on the needles, and you're working back and forth in short rows, so that here it's a bit wider than here at the bottom. And then you work your little edge. So yeah, I think that's it. And yeah, I think that the difficulties with this pattern, the provisional cast on, I think not everyone probably is comfortable with that, which is also why I filmed a tutorial for that part. And the fact that it's also worked at a small gauge, I think it's a, I forget now, 27 or 28 stitches per 10 centimeter or 4 inches. And I worked mine on, I got gauge on 3mm needles. So yeah, it's not a super fast project, but I am a process knitter, so to me this was still very enjoyable, and I think that a lot of the testers also said the same thing. But yeah, if you really don't enjoy working with summer yarns and small needles, maybe this is not for you. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the process, and yeah, and the finished garment. The yarn that I use is, as I mentioned, the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and it's a bourrette silk, so it's not like a very shiny silk. And so a bourrette silk is basically, I think they take the cocoon of the silkworms once the worm is out and I guess becomes a butterfly. So because the cocoon is not intact, it means that the silk fibers are a bit shorter, so it's a bit less shiny and luxurious than your typical silk that you think about. But I really like it because it does create like a bit of texture. And you'll probably notice if you work with this yarn that there's like little, it looks like pails, but it's not really pails like you would have on a woolen fabric. It's just, that's how the yarn is made, because it's basically like waste of the silk cocoon. I'm not an expert, I don't think I explained that very clearly, but yeah, all of that to say that I really like the texture that it creates, and of course like the breathability. So yeah, I recommend using that yarn. But I think also depending where you are in the world, it may not be the easiest yarn or the most affordable to purchase. So I came up with a list along with the testers. So some of the yarns that the testers have used are in there, and then I also added a few others that I found online that I think could be great alternatives. That some are a bit cheaper, some I think are more expensive, but it's I think a good place to start to see what kind of yarn that you can get to make this top. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is just briefly mention the pricing of the top and of my future also garment patterns. I think that's quite like a hot topic online. I've seen a lot of designers start to talk about this, and I think that in general in the knitting design world, the designers tend to price their patterns quite low, in my opinion. And I think that, yeah, I won't get too much into it, but you know, it comes down to the fact that like if people are not willing to spend 20 euros on a pattern, which I think is definitely not the case, people are not willing to spend that much, then the designers won't price that high, because then you're not gonna make a sale, you know. And I think that also the big designers, they can price lower because they know that they're going to make a lot of sales. And while I wish I was not caring so much about the price, I mean, it is a factor. Like, designing is part of my income, so, and I want to value the work and the time that goes into it. And I think that in like the more artistic space, like historically speaking, people don't value this type of work as much, and I think that we should change that. Like, it's a lot of work, and I think that, I don't know, I really value the work of people creating, artists. That was not a very nice sentence, but I think you know what I mean. I really value this type of work, and I really hope that in the future it can be something that people also value, like in society. All of that to say that I was looking at how people price their patterns, because this is my first self-published garment, so I didn't know exactly like how to price it. And I finally decided to price it at 850 euro for the pattern. And I think that's like the price that I've seen from some of the designers that I admire and that I think do a great job with their designs and everything surrounding that. I'm thinking about Rebecca of the Korea Bea, Sophie of the Knit Girl, and Andrea Garn. I think all three of these people I admire for many reasons, and so I kind of looked at how they were pricing their patterns, so I chose a number that was around that. I think that is definitely at the higher end of what you're going to pay for a garment pattern. And I am doing this because I think it's important to value our work, but I also understand that not everyone can afford that, and if that's the case for you, I mean, I want to make my patterns also very accessible to people, so I will try to do this in a few different ways. First of all, by the time you're seeing this, the giveaway is done, but I had a little giveaway on Instagram to give away 3 free copies of the pattern, and that's something that I think I'll keep doing for pattern launches of garment patterns. And so if you're not following me there, you can do that if you are interested in entering these future giveaways. And I'll also try to be better at maybe doing these giveaways also here on YouTube. And also I want to offer a discount for the launch. And if you still can't afford to buy these patterns, I don't want this to be the reason that you don't knit the top if you really want to knit it. So if for any reason financially you can't afford it, just email me and I am more than happy to gift a few copies. That's not a problem. Because I've also been in that position before. I started knitting when I was a student and I was really struggling financially, so I know how that feels like. So yeah, I think that wraps up the financial aspect of it, and also anything Floret top related. Yeah, if you have any questions about the pattern or any concerns about the pricing or anything like that, just either leave a comment or email me and I'll be happy to reply. Alright, now, so that was, it's I guess a finished object, but I finished it quite a long time ago. The other finished object that I already shared about in the previous episode is this little vest. And I have the summery counterpart to it also. But yeah, I think last time I said that I would have a test knit call for this one, but I have realized in the last few weeks I was struggling with my health basically and my mental health, and I think I realized that it was just because I was putting too many things on my list and trying to push to do everything, and I think it's best to take it easy. So I think that I will, because launching a pattern is quite stressful, especially since it's my first like self-published garment pattern. I was a little bit stressed about that, so I'm going to take the time now to wind down a little bit. And then I think the test knit call for this one will be coming at the end of August, beginning of September. So yeah, I'll talk about this one more once that is ready to be tested. And in the meantime, I have been working on 3 different whips, and I think I talked about all of them, or at least the swatches, in the previous episode. But I basically cast on my brown dress. So this is what it looks like so far. I had worked it a bit more. I'll insert a picture that I think I took before frogging and also before I added the collar here. But yeah, so I decided to frog it just because I decided last minute, or not last minute, but after working most of the body, I decided that I wanted less positive ease and even maybe a bit of negative ease. So I frogged it back to where I did my armhole shaping. And I don't know yet how much positive or negative ease I want, so I put it on hold for now until I can do the calculations, do the math, and figure out what to do with this one. But I am quite excited about this. It looks tiny, but basically it's made to be like quite fitted, so like no ease like around the shoulders. And then there's going to be a, I keep forgetting the word for that type of sleeve today. I can think about it in French, but in English, I have a blind, but you know, the sleeve where you pick up stitches and then you do short rows to like shape the cap sleeve. You know what I'm talking about probably. But yeah, so it's a bit like, it's basically like knitting a tank top and then adding a sleeve. And I have been working these little textured columns on the side, and I think that we are quickly seeing a trend in my designs, because this one has an eyelet column, this one has like little scallops like this on the sides, and now this one also has the same type of thing. So one day probably I'll do something different, but for now I guess that's what we're doing. But yeah, it's a really nice like textured stitch. And yeah, I also, so I think last time I mentioned that I want to do like those textured stitches like going down like this, and then I will also have like a one band that goes horizontally to cross the vertical ones around the waist. And so I wanted to see also if I could do that on the collar, and I am not sure if that's going to be the final collar, but I think it looks quite cute. My only concern is that don't know if it's focusing. My only concern is that I wanted something originally that was a bit closer to the neck, but then I tried on this one, and it's an I-cord bind off. I tried on this one and it was like quite snug to get it over my head, so I don't think I could go any smaller than this. So I think that's what the color is going to be. Let's see. But yeah, so I'm excited to do the math and to continue working on that. I think once I figure out the math for the bust circumference and the waist shaping, then I'll be good to go. It's just knitting in the round and working these little textured detail 4 times in the round. But yeah, this is a good almost stockinette project with a little bit of interest. Okay. Enjoying the yarn also is the Holst Garn Supersoft, held together with the Holst Garn Lucia. Alright, and then I am working on 2 different pairs of socks. I think last time we talked, I showed you this one. I think I had done part of the foot here. So it's like a nice textured motif with little flowers, lace flowers, that kind of look also like leaves, or someone even said hearts. I think I agree. Can be what you want. But yeah, so it's a toe-up sock, and I think I first started to knit with my regular 2.5mm needles and 64 stitch sock, and then I realized that the fabric was like too stretchy, so I went down a needle size to 2.25mm, but I think I forgot to go up a size. Like usually I either work my 64 stitch socks on 2.5mm needles or a 68 stitch sock on 2.25. So if you go down a needle size just to get like a tighter fabric with a thinner yarn, then I go up a size stitch wise in the knitting pattern. But I forgot to do that. So when I wear this, like it fits, but it's like so stretched that like the flowers don't look like flowers, and it doesn't look very nice. So I realized this when I was done also knitting the heel. So I put that aside for now. I didn't frog it yet, but I started a second sock on the same smaller needles, but I went up a size in the pattern, and this fits much better. This is what it looks like. It looks the same, but yeah, I thought that just adding 4 stitches more probably wouldn't do that big of a difference, so I even thought about going up 8 stitches, but then I decided not to, and I'm glad I did. And it's crazy how 4 stitches can make a pretty big difference, even at this tiny gauge. But yeah, so as you can see, I'm like in the middle of a row for the heel, because I decided to film a tutorial for this, the heel turn and the heel flap for this sock, because I do it a bit differently than your typical toe-up sock with a gusset and heel flap. And I have one pattern, so the Colorwork Socks, that use this technique, and in that pattern there was only 3 sizes, so now I am working with 6 sizes and 2 different types of instep. So because of that, and also because the last time that I did test knit for the Colorwork Socks, there were, I think the pattern is fine. Like I don't know how I could explain it even more clearly, but I think that a visual would definitely help. So anyways, all that to say that I was filming a tutorial, and then I realized that while filming that my numbers were not working for the tall instep, which is an addition to the like my previous pattern didn't have the choice for a regular or a tall. Instead, it was just a regular. So I was also wanting to test that at the same time, and then I noticed that the numbers don't work. So I need to go back. I don't know what I did wrong, but yeah, I need to go back and make sure that works before actually continuing to film the tutorial, and obviously before doing a test knit for this. So, and this week with the Floret top release, I think all my energy was focused on that, so I didn't have the mind space to do this type of mat for this one or for the dress. So I have a few projects that are just like sleeping here on the side, but I will get back to them soon. And I think I forgot to mention, but this is the, I think it's called a BFL sock by Karlie Paige, Fibre. And this one I think is the golden olive coloring. I really like it. It's very nice. It like matches exactly my carpet in the living room. Alright, and then the last whip that I have is, I think last time it was just a swatch, but now it's the leg and heel-ish of a sock. So it's this Colorwork sock with tiny, tiny flowers. I really like it, but this one is also on pause because when I was knitting that, my husband was sitting beside me one day and I was showing him like, look, it's so cute, little flowers. And then he was like, oh yeah, it's nice, but what about putting like other little things inside there? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, once in a while you could replace a flower with something else. And I was like, oh, that's actually a really fun idea. So, and that was like during the weekend. So we spent like, I don't know, an hour at least with Stitch Fiddle, which is like a program that you can make knitting charts. We spent like an hour doing little other, I can't speak today, what is the word I'm looking for? I have symbol in mind, but it's not a symbol. Little illustrations of other things than flowers. And like we have a little house, a little tractor. He made a dog. I need to show you. And what else do we have? I think I tried to make like a raspberry bush, but that one didn't look great. I'm trying to make a horse, a cat. Let's see where it is. It's here. So we have this one is a little house or a stable, and then we have our little tractor. This is the dog that my husband made. It's so cute. Yeah, we have a few others, another house here. So yeah, now I want to include these things, but I think that one, it would be quite complicated to explain in a knitting pattern. Like, yeah, after working, I don't know how many flowers, work a house, like. And I think that, sorry, there's a fly, I hope you don't hear it. Also, some of the little drawings would require a bit of duplicate stitching because we couldn't make it work so that like the top of the drawing, like for example the roof of the house is like in that color and then the rest of the house is in green. Yeah, so there was some things like that that I think you would need to duplicate stitch at the end, and I think this would be more of like a put the little thing where you want to put it. So I still don't know yet how I'm going to do that. I'm thinking that maybe like this can be a standalone pattern, and then we could have either like a pattern expansion, but I don't want people to have to buy 2 patterns to include the little drawings. I'm just thinking out loud now. I don't know, maybe that would be like a free expansion pattern thing that you can just like and since it's free, like you buy it, you download it just to get like the chart, and then you like figure it out on your own. Maybe I will like write some guidelines, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know where that's going, but for now this is what it looks like, and I really like it. And maybe I'll make a second pair with the other little drawings. Let's see. And I think that's it for now. Oh, my very little yarn acquisition is one ball of Sunny Linen by Meadows Garn. I don't know how you pronounce it because it's a French brand, so I'm thinking Meadows, but they have an accent on the J, so I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But yeah, it's the Sunny Linen. It's 50% linen, 20% baby alpaca, 18% cotton, and 5% fine merino wool. And I have an idea for a spring cardigan, so I am very much in advance, but I think that this one's going to require a lot of swatching. So I ordered one just to see if I like to work with this yarn. But yeah, it's basically like the color is 122 écru, so like a kind of undyed, I guess. It's very nice. I'm curious to swatch with this, but I must admit that it's smaller than I thought it was gonna be, and I don't know why I was thinking it was gonna be bigger, but they recommend to work this on 3 to 3.5 millimeter needles, so let's see. But yeah, I think now that is it. I hope that you got some knitting done while watching this, and yeah, I guess I will talk to you next time. We are going away to the mountains for 2 weeks, and then spending 1 week here, and then I go to Canada to visit my family, so I don't know when's the next time that I'll come to talk to you, but I may film like a few vlogs here and there to bring you along to the mountains and to Canada. Let's see. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying the rest of the summer, and yeah, we'll talk next time. Bye bye.